So I think it's safe to say that some of you deserve a bit of an apology. And those people I'm talking about are Tails mains. For those of you that know, I made 2 separate videos based around Tails the Fox in Sonic.exe The Disaster, and explained, in my personal opinion, why I believed he was the worst character. I feel like I gave a lot of good examples and evidence and facts, but over time I've started to disagree with a lot of things that I've said regarding those 2 videos. And while it is true I did give quite a few facts about why this guy might not be as good as the others, I did give mostly opinions, and opinions can change. So that's why I'm making this part of the intro, and why I'm making this video in general, because I've learned that Tails is not the worst character in the game, and to be honest, I'm not really sure why I started thinking this. I don't know if it's I've just learned to get good at him, or he was given some sort of secret update I didn't know about, or Stockholm Syndrome or something, or maybe just time, but I've been playing this game for about a year now, so you would think I would have gotten slightly good at Tails to the point I wouldn't have complained about him. But as to what the reason is, I don't really know. But over time, not only has he become sort of a good character in my eyes, he's become a fun character in my eyes. I really enjoy playing him, despite the fact that I made several videos talking about why I didn't like him very much, and why he wasn't all that fun to play. So yeah, I now think Tails is a pretty solid character, all things considered, but if I consider him to be good now, who is actually the worst character in my eyes? Well, unfortunately, that goes to...
You fat, bald bastard! You piece of subhuman trash! 2,000 years of constant human evolution to create a hairless fuck...
Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, personally, I believe that Dr. Eggman, the character that I've been maining ever since I first started this game, is the worst character in Sonic.exe The Disaster, by a long shot. And it seems like a lot of people seem to agree with me on that, because I almost never see anybody playing him, let alone main him. I sometimes even see YouTubers talking about how they don't have very much experience and aren't very good with him. And I knew that a lot of people didn't really have an experience with him back then, but I honestly can't help but agree with them. You shouldn't want to pick up this character, because this character isn't as fun, exciting, or powerful as he used to be anymore. And that's why, for today's video, I'm going to be talking about each and every single one of his nerfs and buffs that he has received since version 1.0. With all that being said, let's jump into the video. So for this video, I'm going to go over each and every single nerf that he has received in chronological order, so that way you can understand when he was nerfed and what nerf he was given. So some of the first few nerfs he got were in version 1.1. So let's go over them. So transitioning from 1.0 to 1.1, Jetpack Boost was nerfed, the Nerves of Steel perk was removed from Eggman, and the radius of the stun itself was nerfed as well, being closer towards Eggman himself. And to be completely honest, I like each and every single one of these changes. The old Jetpack Boost was incredibly powerful and really versatile. The enemy was chasing you, you could just use that ability to get tons of ground away from them. The ability also had the ability to reach heights that it shouldn't have been able to, because you could literally just press yourself against a wall, and then you'd be able to go up in places you shouldn't have been able to. Not to mention the fact that the ability was so versatile, you could even see Eggman players use it to jump on the places nobody else could get to. And I'm going to be completely honest, I saw more people using Eggman to jetpack boost into places they shouldn't rather than use him to actually play the game correctly. It was kind of annoying. So personally, I enjoy the changes he was given. And even if Jetpack Boost was kinda nerfed, it was given a little bit of a buff in that it gave more vertical height, so that way you wouldn't have to press yourself against a wall to get up to places. All things considered, it was a good change. And so was removing the Nerves of Steel perk. Having a character whose weakness is having a big hitbox and giving him the ability to have a resistance toward an ability that can insta-kill somebody is kind of overpowered. It sort of invalidates his main weakness, so having this is actually super powerful. I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't know why so many people slept on him back then. And the final change that he was given was that the radius of shock itself was actually nerfed, being more close to Eggman like I said earlier. And I also like this change because there would be times to where I'd clearly be outside of the hitbox, yet I would still get shocked. And at first I thought it was my internet, but then I realized, oh no, it's definitely closer towards him compared to how it used to be. I should probably also mention how he was given a buff between 1.1 and 1.0 in that he activated shock faster than he used to, which is, in my opinion, a good change. It made him more powerful, but at the same time, it didn't make him overpowered because there was still a delay, but it was enough of a delay to where it was easier to predict and land the ability itself, which is nice. Now let's take a look at Eggman in the more modern times of 1.2, because there's quite a lot of changes that he was given, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't like any of them. So transitioning between 1.1 and 1.2, he was given 3 significant nerfs. Once again, Jetpack Boost was nerfed. Big Sonic was introduced, which has 2 abilities that inhibit Eggman pretty badly, and his invincibility frames were removed. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't like any of these changes, even though I can slightly understand the first one. I can understand why Jetpack Boost was nerfed again, because the ability could still comfortably get you to places with very little effort, so nerfing the ability to where you would have to put more effort into using it compared to before is a good change, even if I don't like it very much. But then Big Sonic was introduced, and then Little Sonic was given a new ability, so that way he'd be more powerful. And both of them were given abilities that sort of counter Eggman gameplay. And what do I mean by that? Well, Lil Sonic was given a teleport ability, which allows him to teleport anywhere on the map as long as he has a teleport point down. So if you were to shock him while he was on a low point in the ground and then jump up using Jetpack Boost to get higher, then he could just teleport right next to you. And I'm gonna be honest, I think that's a good counter, because typically selfish Eggman players would usually wait around for Sonic to follow them into some sort of dark hole, and then he would shock them and then use Jetpack Boost to get to a safe place. So I think having an ability like that is good. But then Big Sonic is a bit of a different story. He was given a block ability that allows you to absorb any damage that isn't knockback. And the thing is that, unlike Teleport, this ability is infuriating because it pretty much shuts down Eggman entirely. Eggman's whole thing is that he's supposed to come in to save the day when your teammates are in danger. He's a last resort type option, so having an ability that can easily counter him with so little effort put into it. All you have to do is just press a button, and boom, you've successfully defended yourself against Robotnik. And the reason why this sucks so much is, it's not like he's punching you, it's not like he's hitting you with a hammer, shooting you with a gun. No, he's using an electric AoE shock ability, which I don't even understand how you're supposed to be able to block something like that. You shouldn't be able to. The whole point of Eggman is that he has an ability that's easy to land, but if your enemy is far away enough or they see it coming, they can just easily avoid it. It shouldn't be so counterable. It has a long cooldown for a reason. You use it when your teammates need it. You shouldn't be able to just block it. And speaking of cooldowns, did you know that Shock now has a longer cooldown? Yeah, that's something I didn't put in the list because I forgot about it, but yeah, it now has a 30-second long cooldown. And combined with Jetpack Boost's long cooldown, basically you're just gonna be sitting there doing nothing. With every other character, they have either an ability that has a long cooldown and a short cooldown, or an ability that has a long cooldown but is especially useful. And one thing I'd like to mention about this is the only other character that has 2 really long cooldowns is Cream, and it makes sense why she does. It doesn't make sense why Robotnik doesn't, because your teammates are going to get in trouble all the time, your teammates are going to mess up a bunch, and I do understand that's their fault, not yours, but I don't understand why the character that has an ability that's so easy to counter needs long cooldowns, because Big Sonic and Little Sonic have a way to counter it. And then there's the instance of targeting. I just don't understand, since he's so much weaker now and can have abilities that can be countered so easily. But I guess if you have your teammates there to help you, it won't be that big of an issue. Most of the time, at least. I wish I could say that this was the end of the video, though, but no, unfortunately, he gets nerfed even more. So, anybody else that's tried to play him in 1.2 may have noticed that he has less invincibility frames. I don't know if they're all gone or most of them are gone, but definitely a good chunk of them are gone, and it's enough of them to make a big difference. And I would say that this is easily the worst change that he was given. Just 100% the absolute worst change that he was given. And it's pretty simple, really. I have never gotten hit when I land a shot as Knuckles or Amy with the hammer or a punch. That has never happened to me. Sure, I've gotten hit when I've used punch or hammer swing too early, and sure, if I've missed, I've gotten hit, but I've never used the ability, and as I successfully hit them, I've gotten hit. That's just never been something that happens. But with this ability, with Shock, I don't know if it's because the ability doesn't necessarily move its hitbox, you know how, like, punch and hammer attack do, or maybe it's Eggman's big hitbox. I'm not 100% sure what the issue is, but it is so easy to use this ability, run towards the Sonic, he puts his arms up, and he somehow hits you. And this sucks, because when I look at Eggman, I should be thinking, oh, an enemy with a powerful stun, let me either counter or run away. I shouldn't be thinking, if I time this correctly, I can somehow manage to hit him. That has never been a problem when playing any other character, and the funny thing is that other characters in this game don't have invincibility frames. I have never once had to deal with Sonic.exe hitting me when I play as Shadow, and Shadow has no invincibility frames whatsoever. Yet when playing as Eggman, I get hit almost all the time. And the problem with that is, you're playing a character that needs to save your teammates quickly. You need to act the second you get the chance to. I shouldn't have to worry about getting hit. But because of this, I sometimes feel scared to actually try and help my team. Because why should I if I'm just gonna get hit when doing it? Like, if I jump down to save a teammate, I'm most likely gonna get hit, unfortunately. Because of his big hitbox, and the fact that I need to be standing practically right next to him, due to the fact that the radius of Shock was nerfed. And due to this change of removing his invincibility frames, personally, I believe that there are characters that are better at saving teammates than Eggman. Like, Shadow's boost is literally just jetpack boost plus Shock. Not to mention the fact that Shadow actually combos very well with Tails, meaning you can use boost to save your teammate, homing attack to keep him down for longer, and then Tails can shoot him, which will keep him down significantly longer than Eggman's Shock ever could. Now, I do understand that that requires 2 people instead of 1, but it's just objectively better if the Tails is good at landing his shots. And then there's Metal Sonic, who has invincibility frames while he uses his ability, and he can save his teammates even if he puts himself in danger, but 100% that teammate is going to be saved. Not to mention the fact that you can't block push, which means that it's not like your efforts are going to be for nothing. And push has a shorter cooldown than Shock. and push activates immediately once you press the button. And push doesn't have the same effect as a regular stun, which means that if you stun Sonic after he's been pushed around, he won't get up faster than normal, which is something he does with Eggman. But yeah, that's why I personally believe that this is the worst change that Eggman could have ever gotten. He was given one buff though, in 102, which is that he activates Shock almost immediately compared to before. This change just sucks. And you want to know why? Because it encourages selfish Eggman behavior. Because when you have an ability that's difficult to land because it has a long cooldown, you want to use it to save your teammates, but you don't want to use it to save your teammates when you can activate it instantly. You can just be selfish with it. Because if you tried to use Shock selfishly back in 1.0, you'd be in for a nasty surprise. Because if I can use my ability instantly, and I have the chance of getting hit when saving my teammates, why would I ever try to use it to save my teammates? I can just use it whenever I want instantly without repercussions. And even though the ability can be countered now, that doesn't mean that people still aren't going to use it selfishly because of how fast it can be activated. But yeah, 1.2 kind of butchered Eggman for me. He's not the same as he once was. Let's hope that the newer version does a better job at balancing him. Oh. Okay, so I got a question. Why the fuck does this dude need a buff? It makes sense why Lil Sonic got a buff, but Big Sonic definitely didn't need one, not in the slightest. And I do understand that buff and grab doesn't just affect only Eggman, it affects everybody, but obviously it's going to affect Eggman the most because he has the biggest hitbox. And then there's the second change, the second nerf. Why he needed another nerf confuses me so much, but I guess he just needed one. I don't know, for shits and giggles, I guess. But why would you make his stun worse? You gave it a long cooldown, the ability to be countered and evaded so easily, and now it just doesn't feel like it's worth using it in the first place. You know, I'm just gonna leave this there for a moment and then come back to it later, but I actually kind of want to go back to the whole buffed grab thing. And I've been wondering, how many people play Eggman? Like, legitimately, how many of you actually do play Eggman? I would like to know. Because I understand that if a character is overpowered yet nobody plays them, then that character still should be nerfed. If everybody played Super Brains instead of Toxic Brains, even though Toxic Brains is overpowered, then you should still nerf Toxic Brains because that character is overpowered. But if nobody's complaining about Eggman, why would you nerf him? Because that's the thing, is that you don't have to play a character to get mad when somebody else uses that character. But I almost never see anybody else complaining about him. And that's the thing, is that you never see anybody playing him because he has a really big hitbox. And you never see anybody complaining about him because not too many people play him. And because he felt legitimately balanced as a character. Maybe that's just my opinion. No, not maybe, it is my opinion, but I feel like maybe a character shouldn't be nerfed if nobody's complaining about it or playing it, but that's just me. Anyways, back to the whole stun duration thing. I can kind of see it, but I just don't think he should have a weak stun, necessarily. Every part of the stun should be powerful if it can be countered so easily and can be avoided so easily. No part of it should necessarily be weak, especially since it has such a long cooldown. And that's pretty much everything. Over the course of 1.0 to modern times, Eggman has become a severely underpowered character with lots of glaring flaws and issues that I've noticed. I wish I could say I still enjoyed him the same way I did back in those other times, but I really just don't. And it's difficult saying that your main is bad, but I'm not necessarily gonna say he's good, because he ain't good. Anything that he can do, someone else can really just do better. And there's not really much to say against that. And it's not necessarily like I hate every single change that he's been given, I just don't think they work well together with one another, because one of them either invalidates something else, or makes it even harder for him to do something, or just straight up makes him significantly worse. If he's supposed to have a long cooldown with an incredibly powerful ability, maybe make it to where it can't be countered so easily. I do have a couple of ideas for how to make him better. One of them would be to straight up just bring back the version from 1.1. He would still be countered by Big Sonic and Little Sonic's abilities, but at the very least, he would still feel powerful. Or maybe give him a third ability to make him fit more like a support character. A character that's pretty weak, but overall can protect and save the team at times. Like maybe a speed trap or something that makes Sonic slow when he walks over it, or something. Just to give him a little bit more. Just to make him ever so slightly better. Because as he is, Dr. Robotnik is easily the worst character in Sonic.exe The Disaster. And there's nothing that can really change my mind about that, even though I main him. But that's all I really have to say about him. I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.